Told the teams are ready to load into our World Finals. So with that, it is my absolute pleasure to hand things over to Cadril, Kobe, and Captain Flowers.
Welcome everybody to the first game of the 2022 World Finals. I'm Captain Flowers, I got Kobe, I got Cadril next to me, and we're all ready, jumping into the draft. It's Akali and Sejuani banned by T1. Meanwhile, those draft demands mentioned by chat, the Yuumi, the Lucian, those are banned out by DRX. We're expecting a Caitlyn here too.
Yeah, 2 bot lane bans already straight into the deep end of the draft. Now, DRX, do they really want to leave the Caitlyn open? The Ashe is taken away. Ashe Heimerdinger would be your pushing lane into the Caitlyn Lux. It's a bit of a risk. Graves is open, Aatrox is open. They could also pivot and first pick something like the Sylas or Akali.
Yeah, I like it too because you can still pair a Heimerdinger with something like the Ezreal. We've seen it before with different AD carries. The Varus insta-locked here though for T1 right out of the gates. Guma has performed so well on this champion.
I wonder if we'll see something like Tristana here from Deft. I mean, the AD pool is really pinched at the moment. There's not that many setup ADs left other than Jhin, so he's gonna have to dig deep. Deft isn't that much of an Aphelios player. We saw his 3rd Draven game all time in this tournament when they were down 2-0. There's the Aatrox coming in for King, and Zeus probably gonna go something like Fiora.
Yep, the Aatrox has been a staple of top lane throughout this entire tournament.
I think they also have a high priority on this Sylas that has gone through. When you ban out the Kali for one side here for T1, also raising that priority. Seka has been a monster with it.
Yeah, I think the problem they run into with blinding Sylas is they're gonna face against Faker's Rise. I wonder if Faker will blind pick it regardless, but there's the Viego coming in from Piosik. Graves is still up as well, so I wonder if Owner wants to go in that direction.
Alrighty, T1, second part of the draft for him. Let's see what it's gonna be to accompany that Varus. Remember, this AD carry is typically very vulnerable. Normally you want the support to be able to protect, be able to keep him safe. But there it is, Zeus' counter pick into the Aatrox. The Yone locked in for T1. Renata Glass gonna be the last champion here in the first half for them.
The mechanics on this top lane prodigy get everyone excited for this pick. Meanwhile, Keria has one entire series for T1 with this Renata pick. Really, really great ultimates coming from him to bring that structure to their team fights. And there's the Sylas, baby. I wanted it for Zeka. He throws it down versus Faker the God. And then you can protection ban it here in the next 2 bans. Really nice stuff from DRX.
See the Rise ban already coming through. You think of Azir, you think of Victor as the last 2 remaining champs in terms of control mages that can go into this Sylas, but like you said, Yone is such a powerhouse pick for Zeus. And it was Varus that Keria was alongside in that bot lane matchup to dominate the lane.
Yep, we got the Rise banned away, the Rel banned out by T1, respecting Barrel's wide champion pool. There's the Graves banned out, recognizing that T1 still has that jungle role yet to pick. They do not want to deal with the Graves there with that Viego matchup. Ezreal will be the final ban of the draft for T1, and the Heimerdinger locked in game 1 for DRX.
Barrel's Heimerdinger shows its face again. We've seen time and time again that he doesn't need an Ashe by his side. We've seen Ezreal Heimerdinger come out from DRX. Now the question is, jungle pool is slightly pinched here a little bit too for Owner. Sejuani and Graves being down, Viego being picked away. What is his option for the draft? Might go for Elysian by the looks of it. A lot of melee champs, so can find those kicks.
Ooh, you love to see it. The style always possible to come out there with the Lee Sin. And Faker. What's it gonna be? Azir comes down again. Now, okay, so AD carry here, I think he's misfortune for Deft if you go by what has been most played, but do they have something secret?
That's a good question. You think of Misfortune, think of Jhin. Kalista's up, but Kalista Heimerdinger doesn't sound the strongest. Sivir Heimerdinger, maybe not the best up against Azir with the long range. So I think something that can either go in or something that can set up. Pushing lane is all the DRX need here in the bot side. Sivir is going to be the answer. A bit short-ranged against the Azir, but Deft confident enough that that champion can get the push and keep the push in the mid game.
When you're thinking of push, when you're thinking of AD carries, Sivir's always the one that first comes to mind for me, especially when you have these solo laners that have the capability of being a side lane threat, of being a 1v1 monster. Sivir to clear the waves feels great.
Do you know what's beautiful about these 2 comps? There's no front line. This is all just an Armageddon in team fights. If anyone can connect spells, there is so much follow-up from both sides, especially on T1. T1.
The front line is your ability to outplay.
Yep.
That's it. It's not a health bar, it's your mechanics.
Which puts a lot more emphasis on these key big abilities. We mentioned, as soon as Keria locked in the Renata, that's something that can bring some structure to your team fight. If you get locked up in just a moment of CC, there's so much damage on both of these teams. Boom, instantly taken down. So much is gonna come down to execution.
There is a lot of damage, and I think both compositions diving into the opposing team's composition just looks really tricky, right? Renata, Azir in terms of pushback and hostile takeover. The Heimerdinger committing into a Heimerdinger Sivir seems tough. Getting on top of them is great, yes, but the damage output, like you talked about, Kobe, is extremely high.
And we have two big signature picks in this matchup. Zeus, of course, on his Yone, one of those melee champs that's going to have to navigate those difficult team fights. And Zeka, the breakout star of Worlds 2022, on his Sylas.
Honestly, for me, he has been the individual standout of the entire tournament. He has been turning heads since playing.